There is a moment every month when your bank account feels full. For a brief second, you feel safe. You worked for this. You earned this. This is yours. And yet, 30 days later, you are staring at a smaller number, wondering how something so solid became something so thin. No disaster happened, no luxury vacation, no reckless spending spree, just life. A coffee on a tired morning, a small online order after a long day, a subscription you forgot about, dinner because cooking felt exhausting. Nothing dramatic, nothing irresponsible, and still the money fades. You don't feel foolish, you feel confused. Where did it go? Was it the big decisions or the quiet ones? Most people think they have a money problem. They think the solution is earning more, a better job, a higher salary, a side hustle. But what if the problem isn't income? What if the problem is attention? In modern life, spending is invisible. A tap, a click, a scan. Money moves faster than thought. You don't hold it. You don't feel it leave. You don't hear it disappear. It simply becomes a notification. And because it is silent, it feels harmless until the end of the month. In Japan, there is a different rhythm. In a small apartment in Kyoto, morning light touches a wooden desk. The room is quiet. A window is slightly open. The air is still. A notebook rests in the center of the table. No app, no dashboard, no glowing screen, just paper. Before the month begins, someone sits down, not to restrict themselves, not to punish themselves, but to understand. Because the question is not, how do I make more money? The question is, do I understand the money I already have? There is something powerful about slowing down. In a world that encourages speed, speed feels normal. Fast delivery, fast checkout, fast pleasure. But speed hides patterns, and patterns shape our lives. Imagine this. Before every purchase, you had to pause. Before every swipe, you had to write. Before every buy now, you had to ask yourself why. Would you still spend the same way? Or would something inside you shift? Most people never test this. They track money with apps. They set budgets. They promise themselves discipline. But they rarely sit in silence and face their own habits. The truth is uncomfortable. We don't always spend because we need something. Sometimes we spend because we are bored, because we are stressed, because we are tired, because we want to feel in control. Money becomes emotion, and emotion rarely asks permission. This is where our story begins. Not with wealth, not with poverty, not with numbers, but with awareness. Because somewhere, in a quiet home in Japan, a simple practice was built around one belief. If you can see your money clearly, you can change your relationship with it. And that relationship changes everything. The month has just begun. The notebook is still empty, and the first question has not yet been written. But before we turn that page, ask yourself something honest. When was the last time you truly looked at your spending without excuses? Stay with that question, because what comes next is not about saving money. It is about seeing yourself. If you watch carefully, most spending does not begin with need. It begins with feeling. A long day ends. Your shoulders are heavy. Your mind is loud. You open your phone, not to spend, just to scroll. But somewhere between images and ads, a small desire appears. This would make today better. It's inexpensive. It's convenient. It feels harmless. So you tap. The money leaves quietly. Your mood lifts slightly. And then life continues. No alarm, no warning, no regret. Because the purchase was small. But small decisions, repeated gently, become powerful patterns. We rarely question the small ones. We question the big ones. A car, a house, a loan. But daily spending hides in the background. Coffee becomes routine. Delivery becomes comfort. Subscriptions become invisible. The human mind loves ease. When payment is instant, reflection disappears. When money is digital, distance grows. You don't see cash leaving your hands. You don't feel the physical reduction. It becomes abstract. And when something feels abstract, it feels less real. This is not about blame. It is about speed. Modern systems are designed for movement, fast checkout, One-click purchase. Saved card details. The less friction, the more action. But friction is not always the enemy. Sometimes friction is awareness. Imagine standing in a quiet store. You take an item from the shelf. You walk to the counter. You open your wallet. You count the bills. You hand them over. There is a pause in that exchange, a moment where you feel the value leaving you. Now compare that to a tap on glass. Which one gives you more time to think? Impulse is rarely loud. It whispers, "You deserve this. It's not that expensive. Everyone else has it." And in a tired moment, whispers sound convincing. Spending becomes a way to reward yourself, to comfort yourself, to distract yourself. But here is something quiet and important. When spending is emotional, saving must become intentional. And intention requires space. In Japan, there is a cultural respect for pauses. Tea is not rushed, meals are not chaotic. Even silence has meaning. What if money deserved that same pause? What if before each month began, you created space to reflect, not to restrict joy, not to remove pleasure, but to understand your patterns before they understand you? Most people try to control spending after it happens, after the money is gone, after the regret appears, after the balance shrinks. But what if control began before the decision? What if awareness came first? This is where a simple idea begins to feel powerful. Not a rule, not a punishment. A ritual, a quiet ritual that interrupts speed. A ritual that turns invisible habits into visible words. Because once a habit is written down, it can no longer hide. And once it cannot hide, it can be changed. The month has not fully started yet. The notebook is still waiting. But now you understand the real challenge. It is not the size of your income. It is the speed of your decisions. And in the next part of this journey, we step into a practice born in Japan, where slowing down became a form of financial strength. In Japan, saving money was never meant to be dramatic. It was meant to be thoughtful. More than 100 years ago, in 1904, a Japanese woman named Hani Motoko introduced a simple idea to households across the country. Her belief was gentle but powerful. If families could see their money clearly, they could live more peacefully. This idea later became known as Kakeibo, the Japanese art of saving money. But Kakeibo is not really a book. It is not a trend. It is not a financial hack. It is a notebook. That's all. A plain notebook, a pen, and time set aside at the beginning of each month. No complicated formulas, no investment strategies, no financial jargon, just questions. In many Japanese homes, this practice became part of the monthly rhythm, like cleaning the house, like preparing tea, like welcoming a new season. You sit down quietly, you open the notebook, you write the date, and before spending begins, you think. Kakeibo does not ask you to stop living. It does not tell you to avoid joy. It does not shame desire. Instead, it asks something much simpler. Be honest. How much money do you have? How much do you want to save? What do you truly need? And what can wait? There is something deeply human about writing numbers by hand. When you type them into an app, they feel temporary. When you write them in ink, they feel permanent. The page does not disappear. The numbers do not scroll away. They stay. And when they stay, you begin to notice. In Japan, this practice was not about becoming rich. It was about stability, calm, control. Families used Kakeibo to protect themselves from uncertainty, to prepare for the future, to live within their means without feeling deprived. It became a quiet discipline, not forced, not loud, just steady. Imagine this scene. Early morning light, a wooden table, a warm cup of tea beside you. The month has not yet begun. Your salary has just arrived. Instead of spending immediately, you pause. You open the notebook. You breathe. And for the first time, you look at your money before it starts to disappear. This is the heart of Kakeibo, not restriction, awareness. Because in a world that moves quickly, the simple act of slowing down becomes powerful. The notebook is open. The page is blank. There are no charts, no complicated categories, no financial language. Just 4 simple questions. But simple does not mean weak. It means honest. The first question is quiet. How much money do I have? Not how much I expect. Not how much I wish. How much is actually there? You write the number slowly. When you see it on paper, it feels different. It is no longer an abstract balance on a screen. It is real. It has weight. The second question follows. How much do I want to save? Not how much is left after spending, but how much will you protect first? This small shift changes everything. Saving is no longer an afterthought. It becomes a decision made in calmness, not in panic at the end of the month. You choose the amount. You write it down. Now the money has purpose. The third question, how much am I spending? This is where awareness begins to grow. In Kakeibo, spending is often divided into simple categories: needs, wants, culture and self-growth, unexpected expenses. Nothing complicated. Food, rent, transportation, then coffee, clothes, entertainment, and sometimes things you cannot explain. When you write these categories by hand, you begin to notice patterns. Maybe wants are larger than you thought. Maybe unexpected happens every month. Maybe small comforts are quietly expensive. The numbers are not there to shame you. They are there to reveal you. And then the fourth question, how can I improve? Not how can I punish myself? Improve. Maybe cook 2 more meals at home. Maybe cancel 1 subscription. Maybe wait 48 hours before buying something non-essential. Small adjustments, gentle corrections. Because Kakeibo is not about extreme restriction. It is about conscious living. At the end of the month, you return to the notebook. You review what you planned. You compare it to what actually happened. Did you save what you intended? Where did you drift? What surprised you? This reflection is the real power, not the numbers, not the categories, the reflection. Most people only look at their bank account when something feels wrong. Kakeibo asks you to look when things are calm, and in that calmness, clarity appears. You begin to see money not as something that controls you, but something you guide. The 4 questions are simple, but if answered honestly, they create discipline without force. They slow impulse. They expose patterns. They build intention. And slowly, a new relationship with money begins, not based on fear, but on awareness. There is something different about ink. When you tap a screen, the decision feels light, temporary. You can close the app, swipe away the number, forget the moment. But when you write by hand, the action slows down. Your hand moves, your eyes follow, your mind stays present. You cannot rush handwriting the way you rush a tap, and in that slowness, awareness begins. Psychologically, writing forces engagement. You are not just seeing a number, you are creating it. You are not just reviewing a purchase, you are acknowledging it. That small difference matters, because most impulsive spending happens in speed. Emotion rises, desire appears, action follows. There is no space between feeling and buying. But writing creates space, a few seconds, a breath, a pause, and inside that pause, logic has time to speak. When you write $120, dining out, you feel it more than when you see it in a transaction list. When you total the numbers yourself, you understand them differently. The brain processes handwritten information more deeply than digital input. It becomes memory, not just data. And once something becomes memory, it influences future behavior. You begin to anticipate your choices. You think, if I buy this now, I will write it later. That awareness alone reduces impulse, not because you are afraid, but because you are conscious. Kakeibo does not rely on automation. It relies on participation. You are involved in every step, planning, recording, reflecting, and reflection is powerful. At the end of the month, when you review your notebook, you are not looking at random transactions. You are looking at your own handwriting, your own decisions, your own patterns. It feels personal, because it is. Apps track spending. Kakeibo tracks behavior. Apps notify you after money leaves. Kakeibo invites you to think before it leaves. This difference is subtle, but subtle shifts create lasting change. In Japan, discipline is often quiet. It is not loud motivation. It is not extreme budgeting. It is steady awareness, practiced repeatedly, month after month, page after page, and over time, something unexpected happens. You no longer feel controlled by money. You feel in control of yourself, because the real transformation was never about saving more. It was about thinking differently.
In Japan, money is rarely loud. Wealth does not need to announce itself. Discipline does not need applause. There is a quiet understanding that money represents something deeper than numbers. It represents time, the hours spent working, the early mornings, the late trains home, the energy exchanged for stability. Every yen carries effort inside it, and when something carries effort, it deserves care. In many Japanese homes, envelopes are placed neatly in drawers. Coins are handled gently. Receipts are kept, not ignored. These are not obsessive habits. They are signs of respect.
Money is not treated as something to chase aggressively. It is treated as something to manage responsibly. There is a cultural value in Japan known as mottainai, a feeling of regret over waste. Waste is not just about food. It is not just about objects. It can also be about money. Spending carelessly is not dramatic. It is simply unnecessary. Kakeibo fits naturally into this mindset. It does not demand sacrifice. It encourages awareness. It aligns with a lifestyle built on moderation. Homes are often organized. Spaces are intentional. Consumption is thoughtful. Minimalism in Japan is not about trend. It is about clarity. When your space is clear, your mind feels calm. When your spending is clear, your future feels stable. Saving money in this context is not about fear of the future. It is about preparing for it quietly, not because something terrible will happen, but because life is unpredictable and stability brings peace. There is also a difference in how success is viewed. In many modern cultures, wealth is displayed. It is measured by visibility. In Japan, financial strength is often private. Security is valued more than status. Consistency is valued more than speed.
This is why Kakeibo does not promise rapid growth. It promises awareness, and awareness creates steady progress, month by month. Not dramatic, not exciting, but reliable. When you practice Kakeibo, you are not just writing numbers, you are practicing respect. Respect for your income, respect for your effort, respect for your future self. And slowly, money stops feeling chaotic. It begins to feel intentional. In the final part of this journey, we return to you, to what happens when this quiet practice becomes part of your life. Because the real change is not in the notebook, it is in the person holding the pen. At the end of the month, you sit down again. The notebook is no longer empty. Pages hold numbers, notes, small realizations written in your own handwriting. You review what you planned. You compare it to what actually happened. Some months you did well. Some months you drifted. But something feels different. You are no longer confused. You no longer ask, where did it all go? You can see it. You understand it. And that understanding removes anxiety. Because uncertainty is louder than truth. When money feels mysterious, it feels stressful. When money becomes visible, it becomes manageable. Kakeibo does not promise sudden wealth. It does not promise financial freedom in 30 days. It offers something quieter, clarity, and clarity changes behavior. You begin to pause before buying, not out of guilt, but out of awareness. You begin to separate needs from emotions. You begin to notice patterns before they repeat. And slowly, something shifts inside you. Money stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you guide. The transformation is subtle. There are no dramatic celebrations, no extreme restrictions, just a growing sense of control. You spend with intention. You save with purpose. You plan with calmness. And perhaps the most powerful change is this: you stop chasing more and start managing better. In a world obsessed with earning more money, this Japanese practice reminds us of something simple. Before you ask for more income, ask for more awareness. Because sometimes, the art of saving money is simply the art of paying attention. The notebook closes, the month begins again, and now you move differently. If this story made you pause, then you already understand something important. Money is not just economics, it is psychology, culture, habit, human behavior. And that is what this journey is about. Here, we don't chase loud promises. We explore the quiet systems behind everyday life, the hidden structures, the unseen habits, the stories that shape how you earn, spend, and think. If you are curious about how money truly works, not just in markets, but in minds, then this is where those conversations continue. Not rushed, not dramatic, just thoughtful exploration. This is Money Odyssey, and every episode is another page in understanding the system and yourself. The next question might surprise you, and it begins soon.